Stephanie Harper in here, your friendly fire marshal, coming at you for this year's training and education over fire prevention for inspections or the life safety surveys. I know that we're starting in late this year, but I also want to make sure we get this training in for those of you who need the CEs to continue your Fire Inspector 1. And for those who have not conducted or been part of our life safety surveys for the years, this is some of the educational training and some of the highlights that we want to make sure that we cover for the year. So I'm going to stop sharing my video and share my screen with you. And this is our PowerPoint for this year. What we will cover is some of the updates, some of the things that we need to review, and how we're going to move forward to tackle some of the. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So looking at this year for 2021, I know last year was a little bit challenging and we did not have shift or crew life safety surveys. So fire prevention was conducting inspections per request. But this year we're going to focus out to the end of the year. We're going to focus on our high hazards, high and moderate hazards. That's looking at schools and daycares. With the schools, we have been fortunate enough that we had some volunteers to come in and work overtime to conduct school inspections and work with our daycares. We're also going to look at some of our high hazards, dealing with the hazardous materials. We have a list there, but that is something that we've actually taken off the crews, and we're going to have someone in fire prevention that's going to handle our 31 our 31 hazardous materials buildings. Is going to conduct that. So the crews are really going to be responsible for buildings greater than 20,000 square feet, apartment buildings and city buildings and facilities. So that's what's the focus for from now until the remaining of the year. Please make sure that you just don't use the life safety surveys just for code enforcement, but to take the opportunity to get familiar with buildings and educate the tenants on any life safety issues that they are not clear upon or that we want to emphasize for the year. The code amendment that we'll be looking at is 2018, along with the local City of Thornton amendments. For those who are not aware, the fire prevention engineer assigned to your shift, your liaison, A shift is open, so we're pretty much utilizing everyone that's in prevention to assist with any A shift issues that may come about. We're looking to fill that position by the end of the year. We're doing a little bit of reclassification. So once that is complete, everyone will be aware of who A shift liaison will be. For B shift, it's Francisco Albizu. And of course, C shift is Paige Doherty. Also, I think prevention is working very hard to increase the communications with the shifts. If you're having any issues or concerns, please reach out to us, myself and Dan Bureau, who is still the Deputy Fire Marshal, who will assist with any issues that are not being addressed on your behalf. The paperwork, we are still doing paperwork for OTCs, but as far as life safety surveys, we will be moving towards the mobile inspection product platform, which we have, and you'll be trained on that as well. These are some of the things that we will look up during our years that we've had a full-time or the full year to actually conduct the inspections. So those haven't changed, but we just want to emphasize this year's those categories that we went over earlier, dealing with business greater than 20,000 square feet, apartment complexes, and those will be the main focus. And things I want to emphasize, when you're conducting these inspections, if they can take care of it right there, let them take care of it. That's one less thing you have to worry about or come back and re-inspect. I want you to be mindful of the time frame. We're talking about 2 weeks out for reinspection, for first reinspection. Second week, the time frame decreases to 7, and then the third is an order to comply. I'll leave that to where if it's something minor that third or reinspection comes in and that you're aware or the business owners can take care of that issues, then please allow them as well. But if there's a need to issue an order to comply, please have that conversation with your prevention liaison instead of just assuming or turning it over to prevention. have that conversation with that liaison, your shift liaison, so they are aware that you can have that conversation back and forth and what steps to move further with. Prevention will do all that we can to assist you, but we're also asking for some efforts to work with us as well. Remember, right now, there's only 4 of us in prevention to address what we have with new businesses or new structures coming in, construction coming in. But we also want to make sure we dedicate some time as well to address what shift concerns are. We also have, deal with accreditations, we broke down what the risk hazards are. We have low, which is unattended small structures such as sheds or shelters that we look at. Then we have the moderate structures, which is single family dwellings, commercial buildings that are less than 20,000 square feet. Then for high, we labeled those structures that are greater than 20,000 square feet, but less than 50,000 square feet, 50,000 square feet, and apartments that are 3 stories or less. Those are listed in high hazard. And for maximum hazard, we're looking at structures that are greater than 50,000 square feet, apartments that are greater than 3 stories. Those are our breakdowns for our hazard risks and how we're going to label and define each category. We're still going to emphasize about fire extinguishers. If it's not daycare or licensed agency where it's required for the annual inspections, we're going to make sure we pay attention to the hydrostatic dates, make sure the gauges are reading in the green levels and make sure they're able to function. We want to ensure that there's no damage. Below, you will find areas where fire extinguishers are required, and then make sure we pay attention with those. In the commercials, we want to make sure that K extinguisher, that extinguisher is within 30 feet of that cooking appliance or fryer that it is there to protect. So we want to make sure those are installed. So when we looked at the mobile platform, is the ArcGIS is going to take place of RMS. So what we're going to be utilizing is the ArcGIS Workforce, which is an app that is currently being downloaded on all the unit iPads. Firefighter Gaddis is coming around and actually installing that app on each unit, as well as the passcode that goes with that. We use the Workforce, and that's going to be our tracking. It's more of contained a list of inspections for each department, each station, and then we'll utilizing the ArcGIS survey as the actual inspection form. So this would also help with eliminating double entries. So once you enter it into the survey or into ArcGIS, you do not have to come back to the station and enter. However, with OTCs, we will still be putting those in RMS until we're able to create that platform on the ArcGIS survey. We are working on that, but it's still a work in progress. So for that will still be a hard copy until we get that up. And crews, everyone will be notified once that is up and functional, and it will be utilizing the same survey platform as the life safety surveys. With the order to comply, just a reminder that immediate life hazards are to be checked within 24 hours. Anything dealing with impairments of systems is 24 to 48 hours, and make sure you issue that fire watch. With that fire watch, have the conversations with the business owners of asking whether they are aware of what that is and what that entails. If there's any questions or if they need additional clarity, they can reference or send them to fire prevention so we can give them further details if needed. If fire alarm panels are in trouble, there's a 7 days out. Anything that needs other issues that are not immediate life safety hazards, give them that 7 to 14 days. But you also have the freedom to ask the applicant, when can you get this done? Can you get this done in less than 3 days? If the applicant can get it done sooner, then go ahead and you're available. Go ahead and schedule that inspection sooner. Again, the further directions are how to enter the OTCs in RMS. You also want to make sure you notify prevention or send them a copy of the OTC so at least we can actually follow along what is going on. So if there's anything that we need to participate in, we're already aware of what has occurred previously. We talked about in the mail that is still sending it up to admin once that is completed, once the OTC is which is closed out. Hold on to the original OTC until it is closed out. Make sure you have all the CR information. But again, once we get this information, or once we get the OTC loaded into the ArcGIS program, this will go away because the OTC will be in the mobile form, and we have access to it, as well as it'll serve as the hard copy. Remember that the engine that writes the OTC is responsible for putting it in RMS, and make sure that they follow up on the OTC. If it's written during a fire safety survey, if it's during that time, then the engine shift and issuing the OTC is responsible to follow up. But if the OTC is written on a call and a unit is responding out of their jurisdiction, then that engine is responsible for ensuring that the engine within that jurisdiction where the OTC was written has the proper documentation, is aware of the OTC, and the jurisdiction, the engine that is responsible for that district returns and follows up on the OTC. So the OTC can be written on a call out of district, but the unit that's responsible for that district will follow up on the OTC unless there's some type of communication between those officers of how the issue will be addressed. For each OTC, you want to create a new one into RMS. This allows us to keep actions or keep a list of what actions we have followed up on in this call. And I apologize for the coloring here, but I will change that. If it's necessary to get us involved, please reach out and get prevention involved, and we will assist with following up. But once you return to the station, you want to make sure you follow up on the OTC, make sure it's entered, it's entered the RMS. If it's need to be closed out, make sure you close it out. And all that information, place it in the mail and get it to fire admin so we can go ahead and file it. And the major items, categories that we're going to be looking at, there is a checklist. But with this checklist, it was listed in the binder, but now we'll utilize that checklist for our mobile inspections. And like I said, there is a separate training for that, and we'll go over that with you. We'll make sure we checked out outside the buildings, the fire lanes, the gates, make sure we have access, ensure that we have the proper keys stored in a Knox box. The fire protection systems are in place, that they're operational, have the proper tags. The annual inspection personnel and the compliance engine, and I will go over that later. The compliance engine is a third party, that program that we utilize to where any fire protection systems that are in place or in these buildings, once they're tested or any work that's conducted on them are inspected, that third party company is responsible for placing a copy of that inspection into the compliance engine, so the fire department will have access to review those documentations. What this allows for us to have that information and does not necessarily place it up on the business owner to have that documentation, due to the fact that sometimes they do not get that information right away from the third parties. I'm going to ensure that we looked at roll down doors, any special features within that area. Check out the exit doors, make sure they're functional, operational, like they have the proper hardware. Exit signs, they're operable. Makes the housekeeping looks nice. It is least accessible. We can get to the exits, we can get in, get out. That the residents, not necessarily the residents only with apartments, but also patrons and business employees can get in and get out. Check for hazardous storage, make sure they're in a proper container, that they're labeled. Check for ceiling tiles. This is infamous that we run into with sprinkler buildings. They're either stained, wet, or missing. We want to ensure that those are taken care of, those are addressed, because they are part of the sprinkler system itself. We must have those installed. Extension cords and overloaded outlets, we want to be sure that we don't have any daisy chains, and that the extension cords that are used that are pretty much surge protected and UL listed. Want to keep in mind of those. The hood system, make sure those have been inspected. They received their cleaning, And also check with staff to see if they are aware of what those pull stations or those pull stations are. And I have run into a couple of businesses where the nozzles that are placed over the cooking equipment, they've moved the equipment, and when they return the equipment, they removed it for cleaning. But when they returned it, they did not place it in the correct location under nozzles. So nozzles may not line up with the equipment or with the cooking materials that's below. So we want to make sure that we do look at that as well. Talked about the classic K extinguisher earlier. I'll make sure that is placed and has been serviced. The cleaning with the hood system, and we want to make sure we look at those tags. Dealing with the hood system anytime they activate, being the fact that it is in a cooking area, we want to make sure that we place that system out of service and complete an OTC. Now, with this, we will have to make sure that we call Tri-County and get them out to actually conduct that inspection to go reopen that business. It's not something that we can do. We just simply contact dispatch and let them know to relay this information to Tri-County Health so they can follow up. As far as other fire protection system, dealing with fire sprinklers, fire alarms, roll down doors, that type of information. Again, the compliance engine is going to help assist us with that. The licensed contractors for these inspections are required to report whatever work they've done to each of these systems within 15 days to the compliance engine. Schools, Colorado Department of Fire Prevention and Control has issued a 30-minute video to provide updates on they've adopted the NFPA 101, the July 1st of this year, the 2021 version. So they provided a video of some of the items they would like for us to focus on to ensure that we enforce. And video about 30 minutes long. They took some great examples of what we need to keep in mind when we're visiting the schools. So it'll take time to go ahead and click on that link. Take there. Also, I worked with Lieutenant Otero and I believe it was Tomich in reference to providing some information to the small businesses that we encounter with the mainly it's the back exit to their business and the locks. And this is just a quick reference on what locks are compliant and what can be installed in place of some concerns that we've run in contact with business owners, dealing with the thumb lock, dealing with push bars and items that are within, and getting rid of the bolts that we've encountered, the barrel bolts that are installed across the doors. These are some of the flush bolts that we encounter. And these are perfectly within code. They flushed, and it usually typically these are installed when you have double doors. One door does not have the flush bolt, and the others do. And as well as dealing with crash bars. Also, this one here is not a delayed egress, but I just want to emphasize to show you some of the items that are compliant that may assist with the concerns that the business owner has with security. There's some additionals. You have the plate that covers the back side, so you're not able to see the actual slide into the door jamb. And that plate actually allows a cover, which is completely compliant, is within compliant as well. So just showing you some samples of some doors that are compliant but assist with the security concerns. Below you see some power strips. It is okay to have a power strip, but it must be plugged directly into the wall. The one next to it in the middle is a power strip plugged in within a power strip. That is not permitted. And then we also have the smaller power strip that we see mainly for Christmas lighting. We see that type of cord there to the far right. We want to stay away from those. And below are some of the resources that offer some additional information. Check the means of egress. When we say they maintain, check the maintenance of it, that they're reliable, that they're free of obstructions. And of course, the furnishings. So we do have a tendency, our owners have a tendency to move items into the doorway or the egress, and decorations of the decor has a tendency to bleed over into egress as well. So we want to make sure we're mindful of those. We talked earlier about the barrel locks. The top demonstrates the barrel lock that is not within compliance, that's not compliant. And then we have in the middle of that same door to the above left, we have a door lock. But what we have here is panic hardware, a key lock, and a slide bolt. So in one thing, we have too many locks. In the bottom picture, we have the thumb lock and the push bar, which is too many locks as well. We got too many count movements. For this one here, this is actually one of our businesses that had a chain, a deadbolt, a push bar. Holding that chain together are pliers that secures it to a ring that's hooked to the side of the door. And then of course we have the bungee cord, which allows for it to self-close. So yes, we have some interesting things out there in the city. So we want to be mindful of some of the contractions that are there and provide the business owner or the business owner or the employee with the information to address these concerns and how they become compliant. Here, of course, we have the top secret security. We have a twist knob, a bolt, and of course our lovely 2x4s. Yes, it is secure, but it's definitely unsafe. Here we have the rear exit that is blocked by lots of furniture, storage in the back. So we'll make sure we want to look at the exterior of the buildings to make sure they're within compliance as well. It'd be a bad day to try to use that door and not be able to get out of the building because of things that are outside. Then of course we have the inside decor, have a tendency to spill over. So we'll make sure the housekeeping is up to par to where we can utilize this exit, or businesses, patrons can actually utilize this space to get out when needed. Of course, with the stairs, we're here. The door is self-closing. If you look at the bottom of that door, you have a door stop. We want to make sure that we make the tenants aware that this is not within code, being the fact that it's a self-closing door. So that door leads to a stairwell, which is used for egress. So we'll make sure we educate them on that. This right here, this is an escape stairwell. What's the issue here? We have the gutter that is in the pathway of the stairs. We want to make sure we keep those clear. So that is one of the factors we have to make sure. Back to testing the equipment. We are clear to test the equipment. We just want to make sure we contact dispatch and let them know what is going on. But also, we want to ensure that we have the proper equipment to deactivate the system once we set it off. So if we utilize a pull station, make sure we have that key to reset that pull station. So we can leave the business in service just the way we found it. For schools and daycares, we'll make sure we check the playground areas, the gates, the proper hardware, and they can be locked. The individuals can get out. Back to barbecue grills. Again, we do not enforce the barbecue grills. We allow that. We stick with apartment complexes for that. We count on them. And if they ask for a recommendation, just reference them to the IFC. That's a good recommendation for them. It's just something that we amended from the code that we do not enforce. It's not that we are against it. It's the fact that we just don't have the staffing levels to constantly be called out for barbecue grills. But do take note that we have come in contact or have encountered those apartment complexes, those apartments with 3 or 4 propane tanks stored on the balcony. I believe it was the Skyline fire that we had last year in October. The balcony had, I think 2 to 3 propane tanks that assisted with that fire spread. So if you are able to have that conversation with that apartment complex, that manager or that maintenance personnel, that's one of the items you may want to educate. Not just may, but you should educate them on to keep the community safe. Well, elevators, we pretty much check in to make sure that it's been inspected for the year. It recalls to the lower lobby, the level of egress. If that particular elevator level egress is the basement level, such as the one, and we have one in City Hall, it'll default to the first level, but it also go to the second floor, the basement level as well, because that is a egress as well. And so you want to check the elevators that they return to the levels that are indicated or with the exits. FTCs want to make sure that they do have the connections, that they have the covers on them. Have the standard Siamese outside. You want to make sure that these actually rotate and that they are functioning and able to remove. And we have the storage connection as well. Just want to make sure that we do have movement on those devices so that when they're in need that we can get those. As far as the sprinkler, just a quick diagram of the fire sprinkler system dealing with the check valves and what we utilize and how it functions here. Also below, there's a YouTube video that was created earlier this year utilizing the 1001 Grant Street, that Defy fire sprinkler system. There's a dry system and a wet system. So this video will cover some of the components of that and actually indicate what we should shut off, the only things we should touch within the sprinkler system. So just to emphasize that for a sprinkler system, we shut them off. We do not turn them back on, and nor do we change out sprinkler heads. We will go ahead and allow the sprinkler company to change those out because we do not want that liability. There may be some confusion before that we did change those out, but I am stressing that we do not change those out. No sprinkler heads, we shut the system down, we do not turn it off. Again, just talking about the fire department connections, what we're looking for. The difference between the domestic and residential systems. And the residentials are geared towards life safety, getting the peoples out. The NFP are geared towards, they are also for life safety, but they're also there for building protection as well. So the demand or the requirements for NFPA 13 are greater than the 13 Rs. In our amendments, sky lanterns, if anyone asks you about the sky lanterns, those are little lamps that you see that people would put a flame inside and they pretty much fly off or into the sky, or they may be tethered. Those are not allowed in Thornton at all. We want to make sure that any unoccupied spaces that we come in contact with, emphasizing that they still need to be maintained and swept. Carbon dioxide systems, this is something that has been placed into the 2018 code dealing with the 100-pound systems. We should have encountered, or those that did not have the CO detectors, the CO2 detectors in place. I believe they received letters within the past year and a half. So we've had a lot of businesses that have dealt with the issues of upgrading and placing those detector systems, those CO2 detectors into their businesses. But if they have not, please note and reference that business to fire prevention, so we can we may go out there and discuss and have conversations with that business owner. Some are our new projects. Of course, we have Crossing Point. They are starting with their second building over there. Washington and 128th, we have 14 three-story buildings. We have condominiums built off of East Lake. They're going in place, which is right there near the ESC building. Lockridge Apartments, those are completed now. Those are right across from Top Golf. We have about 18 buildings there. Those are in place. We have people in there. Caliber at the Grove at 143rd and 3rd Place. We have 3 buildings, mixed use place there. Station 7, groundbreaking will be soon, most likely by the end of November. We have the groundbreaking for our Station 7, the police training center that always has broke ground, and right now we're in the middle. They're in the middle of actually leveling off that land. That building should be up or start with building construction in February. Then we have Bull Creek, which is just north of Amazon. Right now there's 3 large light industrial, but there's going to be a total of 9 over there. So they'll be starting building 4 shortly. Opus will be 2 light industrial buildings that are south of Station 4. That's what's going right there. One there'll be about 100,000, and the other 100,000. The other one's about 150,000. Then we got Sashko Caulking. That is going to be in one of those 25 North buildings, which is north of Amazon. Then right there off of the Grant Circle, we have a Global Village, a school going in. You can actually see that from I-25. Across from there's a charter school on the opposite side that should be in. I think they're wrapping that up fairly soon. There's 2 hotels being built near that same charter schools, those 2 schools, and those Homewood Suites as well as Town Place Suites. If you're familiar with Satire Brewing, they're right across from Satire Brewing. Then we have Wood Springs Suites, which is going at the Lockridge area, at the 166,000 Washington Street. So we have some building there as well. So that was just some of the projects that are going in the city. As you see, we did not stop due to COVID. We just simply had to regroup and figure out how we could accommodate the new builds. So again, those are the updates for the fire prevention. Just one thing that before this used to be count as one CE, but now it's been changed. It is now 0.3. At the CE, it only counts for 3 hours instead of the 10 that it did before. So just update for those who are continuing with their fire inspector that this is 0.3 instead of the 1 that it was before. So if you have any questions, please reach out to prevention. I'll be glad to get back with you. Again, thanks for your help. And please reference the next videos will be over the compliance engine, which is that 3rd party. And the video after that will be the mobile inspection. Thank you.